After 24 hours of action at the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, now we're back on the Sprint Cup trail in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. We're at Hockenheim, just outside Heidelberg. 2 one-hour races this weekend, and it's going to be all action on a really testing and demanding circuit, and in unseasonably high temperatures as well. And driver stamina is going to be key to the weekend. There isn't much history to go on here, but it does seem as though Audi is the brand to have. That has had good results here in the past, and we'll see whether that pattern continues or if any of the other manufacturers can score wins this weekend. Some, indeed, though, have switched, like the Liqui Moly team Engstler, away from Audi to Lamborghini, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they get on. Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, part of the global competition that includes America, Asia and Australia. We've already been to Paul Ricard, Brands Hatch, Misano and Spa. Nürburgring Endurance to come in a week's time, then Magny-Cours, Monza, Barcelona and Jeddah to round out a very busy season. It's in the pro category where you can expect the overall victors to come, and perhaps around here the grunt and go front-engine Mercedes may well be the car to have. Maro Engel certainly is hoping for a win.
It's always great to be here in Hockenheim. For me personally, a lot of memories. Obviously, it's a track we race on a lot. We'll have some support from the German fans, which will be great, and a lot of the team personnel are based around here and not far away from Hockenheim. So it's great to be here, and obviously looking forward to the weekend. Yeah, we've had a strong start, but obviously so has car 32. So for us, we'll try and have a good weekend, try and maximize our potential, hopefully try and reclaim the lead, but we'll see this weekend.
Now, what about Porsche, another German brand? And the Rutronic Racing team has got 2 cars, one of which is in pro, Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Müller, the drivers. And they've struggled a bit for pace this year. Maybe here at Hockenheim, things could change. Sven Müller certainly knows how to hustle a Porsche very quickly.
Yes, Hockenheim Ring is our home Grand Prix, especially for the team. For Rutronic Racing, they live almost like half an hour from here. And for me as well, I come from Bingen. It's only 1 hour from here, so the test days so far went quite good. We finished P1 in the first 3 practice, so actually it's a good start of the weekend. Yeah, let's see and keep our fingers crossed that we will have a good qualifying and then for sure in a good race. The weather can be really unexpected. I think there's some thunderstorm coming for Sunday, so the Porsche normally is good in the wet. So yeah, let's see. We hope for mixed conditions and then have a good result.
The Gold Cup is for gold and or silver graded drivers, and the Liqui Moly team Engstler squad, switching from Audi to Lamborghini for this weekend, are certainly looking for good results. Luca Engstler drives the Lamborghini in DTM, he knows the car. What about Max Hoffer, the second driver?
We are looking good in the championship still, but our ambitions are higher than we currently. So at the moment FP1 went quite well as well, and for sure we are here to fight for the championship in gold, but as well our ambitions are to get an overall podium at some time, and let's see what we are capable to achieve.
Key opposition, though, in the Gold Cup is going to come from the Santalot Junior team with its brace of Audi R8 GT3s. Paul Everard, one of the star drivers in the category, and he's had a really solid start to the year.
Yeah, it's really difficult to manage the tire because the weather in Germany it's really cold this weekend, but it's really hard for manage the tire and for manage the mechanic, the driver also. But it's still the same. It's the same for all car, all driver, and all mechanic.
The Silver Cup is purely for silver-graded drivers. These are the young guns, the stars of the future of GT racing. And Sam de Haan is certainly going to be out there fighting for class honours once again.
Honor for us was a pretty good weekend. The car was good. The BOP I think was quite good for us, and Cal and I both executed a good race. No mistakes, no issues. So I'd say arguably it was a pretty perfect weekend for us overall. I'd like to think every weekend could be like that, but you know, you never know what's going to happen. And for us, we just try and stay consistent, try and avoid track limits, try and avoid any contact, and just run our own race, and that usually works well for us.
No GT grid, though, would be complete without Ferrari, and the AF Corsa squad has representation within the Silver Cup. The Singaporean driver, Sean Hudspeth, is looking for category honours this weekend.
Ferrari in here, of course, I've had a strong year. Almost winning Spa, 24 hours. Obviously, very, very heartbreaking what happens. But yeah, after following from a double podium for us in Misano, we're obviously optimistic, but still realistic. You know, I think some of the other brands are looking quite strong as well. So yeah, let's see what we can do.
In the Bronze Cup, there must be at least one bronze-graded driver. You can have any other grade alongside you, and that often stimulates results. A man to watch, veteran of one-mate Lamborghini racing, Dmitry Gavatseva.
It always was my dream to compete here, yes. And now, finally, I'm here, and I will try to do my best with our team, our teammate. Of course, the main goal is win our class. It's very tough, you know. So compete here is extremely difficult because the guys participate in endurance, in British GT Championship, and have a lot of mileage, you know, in the car. We're not so strong on this point, but we try to manage it and do our best. Yeah.
And the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari is also going to be a car to watch within bronze. And Eddie Cheever, who has always specialised in making Ferraris go very, very quickly, is the real star driver in the team this weekend. And he's pretty optimistic about his chances as he presses on for Sky Tempesta Racing this weekend.
Yeah, we just finished 24 hours of Spa, survived it, P4 at the end, so that's good. We're still leading the championship. Our main goal as Sky Tempesta is to win the overall and hopefully go to Le Mans. That's what we're here for. So we're gonna push. Well, we've been doing this championship for so long as Sky Tempesta, and we feel at home here. So yeah, I'm really proud to be part of Sky Tempesta and to be part of this championship because it is one of the toughest in the world. So let's see if we can prove a point here, we can prove it anywhere else in the world.
So cars making their way onto the grid here at a very hot Hockenheim, and the grid based on that 10-minute blast that we had this morning. David Addison and John Watson trackside. John, that qualifying really put the pressure on the drivers and the teams this morning. You didn't get many laps in 10 minutes, but you got a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, but I have to say I loved it because it made everybody go out. Try not to make track limit errors, because if you lose a time in a 10-minute stint, basically you're putting yourself on the back foot for the rest of the qualifying. And I mean, I love the pressure that it generates, and I think we had a very good 10-minute qualifying session, and saw one brand looking extremely dominant.
Well, an all-Ferrari front row and a silver categorised car on pole position, Alessio Dono and the returning Tom Fleming. Tom hasn't driven today yet. He did all his mileage yesterday. We made the point in qualifying, but just to say it again, of course, the first time the incoming driver gets into the car today is in their stint in the race. They've had no other mileage other than being thrown into it, and it's going to be pressure for all of them. So the cars are on the grid. This the Hockenheim circuit that we are looking forward to seeing the cars race upon. 4.6 kilometres long. Very, very high temperatures indeed.
Yes, it's 55.5 Celsius track temperature. So all these cars coming into the grid positions. This race will be getting underway in approximately 20 minutes. There is our Hockenheim ring circuit. Turn 6 the hairpin, all the way through that little dog leg, then back on turn 12 takes you back into the stadium area. Sachs curve number 13, probably the most famous circuit here at Hockenheim. But watch track limits on the exit of 16 and 17, because that's where you can get penalised, because you just took a little bit too much track. And I thought I might get away with it.
And the same is true at turn 1. Team managers earlier on in the day saying to me that the way that the curve has sort of been brought in a little bit, it makes for a really odd feeling of corner. The car wants to go onto an older line, which is why you get more track limit offences at turn 1 perhaps than anywhere else. It just feels an unnatural corner, the way that it's been tightened. That's the driver's excuse, at least.
Call it pinching.
Yes.
Take away a little bit of the runoff on the outside, but maybe not even sort of explain it to the drivers until they actually confronted with it on track. If you make a mistake, that's turn 1, first corner, on a lap, bingo. The rest of the lap, just drive round slowly and save your tyres.
Now there, number 32, Charles Wirtz, only 19th on the grid in his BMW. Let's just listen in.
Okay, just to inform you, we have no brake planking on the car. So normally we plank it up for the brake temp and the tire pressures, but we have none because it's so hot. Okay. Copy. Makes sense. Okay, Charles, just be careful going to grid. No curbs, mate. Tire pressures are very low because of our cold pressures. So we can just work on getting some temperature into the brakes, but not crazy, okay?
So Charles Wirtz, that's from his way to the grid a minute or two ago, but interesting to listen to that.
Well, I think they're not the only team who's going to have that issue because it is so hot. And while it's not a major braking corner or braking circuit, the run down into turn 6 is a big braking area. And it's, if you're going down there, you've got cold tyres and brakes not up to an operating temperature, then that can cause a major lock-up. So when you do your parade lap, you're probably going to ride with your left foot on the brake pedal, just pumping it, trying to build a bit of brake temperature, which then it sort of grows through the uprights and the disc and into the wheel and then into the tyre. And that's essentially what Charles Wirtz was being told by the technicians and the WRT team to try and do. So that when the lights go out and you go to turn 1, if you need the brakes, which I suspect you will have a brake that will stop you.
So a BMW of Charles Wirtz in trouble, a quicker BMW, that of Callan Williams. Antonio Rankin on the grid. He's standing next to the car.
Callan, it is boiling out here today. You must feel right at home.
Yeah, it reminds me of Perth, that's for sure. I think it's 30-something degrees at the moment, so yeah, definitely brings back memories. It's going to be a tough race with the tyres, especially for us. BMW works the tyres quite a lot, so we'll definitely have quite high temperatures in this race. But yeah, we'll do what we can, manage from here and get to the end.
Do you think that will put you at quite a disadvantage compared to some of the other teams?
I don't know how it is for everyone else. But yeah, I guess we'll find out towards the end of the stint how we're going. Obviously, we're going to do everything we can. We're up here in qualifying, still second in class, which is all right. So yeah, we'll keep pushing to the end. I'll do what I can to manage the tyres throughout the race. I'm sure everyone will be doing the same thing. So
of course, well, I suppose we'll find out, won't we? Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Callan Williams, who is one of the stars of the Silver Cup, shares that car with Sam DeHaan. They've had 3 race wins. They lead their class in the Sprint Cup element of the championship, so they are the benchmark. But in terms of the silver opposition, well, you got one on an outright pole position. Alessi O'Donoghue was an absolute star this morning.
Very impressive indeed. From the minute, basically, any of the Ferraris that are here this weekend, they just looked, I thought, in a class above anything else. The other car that really stood out for me was the Liqui Moly Team Hengstler by one group. It's a long time title. That car looked so good, and I thought that's potentially a pole-sitting car. It ended up being 3rd quickest behind the 2 Ferraris, and it is going to be about who can manage the tyre. It's only a 30-minute, maybe maximum 34-minute stint that any one of these drivers might do. Nevertheless, you're going to have to manage your tyres, and if you peak too quickly in terms of tyre temperature, there might be a bigger drop-off than would have been if you're a little bit more cautious in the opening laps, and then you can manage to keep the tyre in its working tyre range for the duration of your stint.
And those Pirelli tyres you just looked at, we're going to be talking about a lot, no doubt, over the course of this race then. Alessi O'Donoghue and Ben Green are the 2 drivers on the front row. Different teams, but the same type of car, the Ferrari 296. And the grid pretty busy this Saturday race, with the fans having a look at different cars down on the grid, including number 72, which is one of those 2 Barwell Lamborghinis. That's Patrick Cuéllar and Gary Arindone's car. Patrick Cuéllar, the Finn, there he is, will go first, being shielded from some of the sun and the heat. And it's interesting, isn't it, to see how many drivers, having got to the grid, have jumped out of the cars. Quite often they might stay in, but with the amount of heat soak today, no, they're all getting some air.
Well, you ought to get some air, but I mean, the air itself is so hot. I mean, people on the grid, white T-shirts, that's not too bad. Black race suits, just as a heat soak for any heat or light that's around.
So let's, with the 10-minute board being shown, head to McLaren next, because Tom Gamble, one of the drivers of the Garage 59 159 entry, Tom Gamble's with Antonia.
Tom, you're starting in a great position, but you've just told me the car doesn't have aircon.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a hot one. Obviously, the temperatures are sky high today. But it shouldn't be too bad, as I was just saying. Obviously, it's only a half-an-hour race. So, yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, we're starting up there. We've, you know, I think it was a bit of a surprise qualifying for us. We felt like we were struggling maybe a little bit yesterday, but the Garage 59 team worked incredibly hard overnight to get the setup working better. And yeah, you know, both cars, the bronze car as well, directly ahead of us, you know, we've had a really good qualifying. So hopefully we can turn this into a strong result. But, you know, as always with the sprint races, quite exciting, a lot can happen. So fingers crossed we have a clean one and yeah, see how we end up. Fingers crossed for a podium.
Yeah, let's hope so, and hopefully you stay cool as well.
Not much chance of that.
7th is where that car starts. Just to clarify what Tom said about it's only a half-hour race. It's a half-hour stint is what he means. It's a 1-hour race, but you divide it pretty much equally between the two drivers. So he'll only have to do 30 minutes in his McLaren-made sauna, not the whole hour.
Yeah, and one might say the second driver in this 1-hour race might be the one that actually has the easier task because the field will be well and truly spread out. You've got that 10-minute window in which you can come in, do your driver change wheels and tires, get back out again. So there's an element of management going to come in to at what point the second driver does his stint. And it's always going to be, in the initial laps, a very closely bunched field of cars, 16 rows, 32 cars, getting through the opening turns. We saw in support races coming out of turn 2 into turn 3, contact and 2 or 3 cars getting together, then all the way down to the hairpin turn 6, another sort of pinch point for the entire field. So opening laps much more difficult than those that will be taking over for that final half hour.
Dennis Marshall there for Porsche. Let's just go back to the grid. Antonio has got Maro Engel. I think we're going to hear from him in German first, then we'll have it translated in a moment after that.
Maro, wir sprechen am Freitag. Wie ist dein Deutschrennerlebnis bis jetzt?
Ja, ist natürlich super, ein Heimrennen hier, viele Freunde, viel Support, bestes Wetter. Insofern sind wir sehr glücklich hier zu sein und versuchen jetzt ein gutes Rennen zu zeigen.
Was macht Deutschland so Besonderes?
Deutschland ist generell Motorsport verrückt und ich glaube, ja, ein Land, wo GT-Rennen gefeiert werden und das merkt man. Und gerade mit der Mamba haben wir ein Auto, was sehr, sehr beliebt ist in Deutschland. Insofern ja, sind wir happy hier zu sein.
Ganz verstanden. Dankeschön. What Maro was just telling me is how special this race is to him. He's got so many friends and family here to push him on, and hopefully it'll be a good race for them. Obviously, it's a hot day.
So Maro Engel, who with Lucas Auer had a win at Brands Hatch at the start of the season. One to watch here. It's a circuit he knows well, not just from GT racing, but also, of course, his time in the DTM. And that Mercedes you can't rule out. Lucas Auer at Brands proved to be fractionally quicker than Maro. It starts 3rd. I think that could still be a race-winning car.
I think so, because the one strength I would say Mercedes certainly has got, Mercedes AMG GT3, just to get it correct, is that I think it would be one of the cars that will be the easiest or easier of all the brands here on tyres. And while the two Ferraris locking out the front row of the grid proved to be quicker overall in that one flying lap, the gap was maybe about 0.2 of a second, maybe just under that in overall pace. But this is going to be about when you get into lap 5, 6, 7, 8, and you've peaked the tyres performance, then it goes into that sort of plane of where the tyre maintains it until the end of your stint. It'll be interesting to see what Lucas Auer can do, because he is able, I think, potentially into turn 6, going to be a big overtaking opportunity between the two front row Ferraris and the Mercedes and the Lamborghini. Don't discount the Lequimone Lamborghini with Max Hofer behind the wheel. Those 4 cars are going to be racing for the lead of the race into turn 6.
And the start of this race getting closer. The grid starting to be cleared of all the extraneous personnel. Drivers are putting helmets on, getting on board, and we're getting closer to the start of our first of 2 races of the weekend. Alicia O'Donnell's car then on pole position. His co-driver, Tom Fleming, good to have back after a nasty accident in practice at Misano. He is with Antonia.
Tom, first of all, it's so great to have you back.
No, thank you very much. It's amazing to be back.
How was it with the recovery process? Did you get a little bit of FOMO in Misano?
I mean, honestly, I watched all of it, like every single minute of it, and it was pretty hard to be away from the racing and, yeah, not to being able to even like train during the lengthy period between races. But no, we're defying all the doctor's orders by being here, and no, of course, and Ferrari have taken such amazing care of me. They've really treated me like family and inspired me to get back in the car. And yeah, it's a good thing that I did, because we're starting on the front row pole position for this one, which is pretty decent for a silver car. Alicia put in an amazing lap in qualifying, hooked it all up together. We knew the time was there, and yeah, our main focus is on the race now.
Yeah, I mean, the performance you've both been putting on from the start of the season has been absolutely exceptional. Do you think you can maintain it?
There's every chance that we can do, you know, like we've got a very strong race car underneath us. through the Thursday, Friday practice sessions, our long run stints looked really solid as well. So yeah, I've got confidence that we can really do some damage in this race.
I reckon so too. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
I remember back at Brands Hatch when Tom was on the podium winning their category or position in their category, and I said that there's a young man with a winner's smile. And then, of course, the issues at Misano, and that set him back considerably. He's made a fantastic recovery, but I just got glimpses of that smile still there and thinking about it. We are on pole position. If everything works favorably for us, that could be an overall victory for the silver Ferrari, which would be absolutely stunning.
And even if not, a class win would do them some good as well for points in the championship, having missed the Misano doubleheader. So yeah, it could be a very good return to racing for Tom Fleming, and Alessio Dono will start with the new to the team for this championship, Lamborghini, going for Team Ancient. They know the car from the DTM, but running it for the first time in Fanatec GT. That's your pole car there, number 71 of Alessio Dono for AF Corsa. And it's Ben Green who's going to go first in the number 14 Ferrari, lining up on the outside of that front row of the grid. It'll be a rolling start, of course, so very shortly they'll be ushered away onto the final formation lap.
There is the Lamborghini, and I've already sort of pointed out, I thought was very impressed. What looked to me, the way that car was riding curbs and riding, it looks to me as if the team have done an excellent job on the springs, roll bars, damping, every part of the car, because it looked like the whole car was working, not just sort of hop, skipping and jumping around the racetrack. So keep an eye on that number 6 Liqui Moly team, Ensler, by one group. Anyway, got it all out.
Well done.
Breath.
And there you've got the Winward Racing Team Manfilter Mercedes, or you did have. There's for 25 the Santilloc Team Audi. Santilloc Racing, that's the Gilles Magnus Paul Evra car. Gilles Magnus to go first. We know how good he is. One to watch. That's your second placed Silver Cup car, lining up for this way back, relatively speaking, 12th on the grid. The championship leading car you heard from Callum Williams, but that's the opposition to the pole sitting Ferrari in silver.
Going to be a big task for the drivers, Callum Williams and Sam Dahan, to get on terms with the 71 Ferrari, which has got all the benefits of starting in the front row on pole position. So they will be the team that will get the best opportunity into turn one, and once they get ahead, if they assume that they do. But Ben Green, again, another driver we noted out at Brands Hatch in particular, a stellar drive from Ben Green there, and he's got the opportunity, just as Alessio Dono has, to get into turn one ahead of the field.
So very shortly, there will be that 1 minute board. Engines will fire, engineers will clear the grid, and then it will be down to the local officials to control the start of the race, to release the cars, to get this first of two 1 hour sprint races underway. And so as the drivers are good to go, we'll have the mandatory pit window, of course, between 25 and 35 minutes. It's as quick as you can for the pit stops, natural pit stops, apart from those entered in the Bronze Cup, where there is a regulation time of 57 seconds, line to line, that must be adhered to. So that's purely bronze. Everybody else, as we've seen in the past, can gain or lose places in the pits. It's down to partly your etiquette, but it's also down to how good the team is. 1 minute to go then, until the start of the formation lap. 1 minute to go. Engines fire. There for number 991, the BMW, Dan Harper, sharing with Darren Lung at Century Motorsport, last year's British GT champions. And Dan Harper, don't forget, is the leader of the Endurance Cup, having had good results at Spa and a win at the opening race back at Paul Ricard. So we're almost ready to go as the grid is now clear. Last few engineers leaping over the pit wall. Marshals likewise, grid marshals. And there you can see the board in hand of the marshal. That's got 15 seconds writ upon it, at which point that'll be shown to the drivers any second now. And then the lead car, the red Lamborghini Huracan, will blast away, and on receipt of the green flag, then the race cars will follow suit.
Interesting to see on this parade lap, let's call it that, how many drivers' cars are going to start and trying to get an element of tire temperature, but as the case of the 32 WRT BMW, using the brakes to get that heat build up into the wheel, then into the tire, then onto the core of the tire, then finally into the tire's tread itself, to ensure that when they have a big brake and have a big turn, that the car is going to respond.
And the last car just leaving the grid is James Jakes to start in one of the 4 ComTU Aston Martins. So let's have a look at the grid then. Alessio Dono is the man on pole position. Ben Green with him at the front, ahead of Lucas Auer starting 3rd. And it is Max Hofer starting number 6, Lamborghini 4th on the grid. 5th is where you find Louis Pret in that car that's got the bronze pole. And Gilles Magnus alongside, ahead of Benjamin Goethe. And Thierry Vermeulen in the 2nd Emile Frey Ferrari. Then it is Jules Gounon lining up alongside Sandy Mitchell. Dennis Marshall is next with Callum Williams alongside. That's Porsche versus BMW. The next row, BMW versus Lamborghini. Dan Harper on the inside of the grid. Patrick Kuyler on the outside line. Dylan Pereira, it's going to be on the inside of row 8. Lorenzo Petresi alongside, ahead of the drivers that are 2nd in the Silver Championship, Sean Hudspeth and Jeff Mackiels. And the bronze leading car, having had a win, Eddie Cheever and Jonathan Twee. Then you've got 19th on the grid, one to watch, Charles Weerts alongside Phil Keane. Simon Gachet is next. He's had a Gold Cup win. Hugo de Wilder alongside for Imperiale Racing. Then you've got David Pittard, Aston Martin Works driver for ComTU alongside Marcus Paverud, switching to Santilot, joining Ivan Klimenko for the first time. Nicolas Barr and Sven Muller, both a long way back, come ahead of Alex Arca, also a long way back. And then Stephen Palette, Cesar Gazot and Dante Raponge are ahead in turn of Magnus Gustafsson and James Jakes. So that is how they line up. 32 of them, with a little bit of shuffling in 1 or 2 of the teams. And of course, for the Tresor Attempto team, they've done a bit of switching of drivers there. What we don't have, sadly, Ricardo Feller nor Christopher Hauser for this weekend. So Petresi and Arca have sort of merged as one team.
Yes, we're just also looking at the grid. Number of Lucas Auer on board in the Mercedes, but a number of drivers' car combinations well and truly out of position. On the 14th row is that Tresor Attempto, Alex Arca, Ricardo Feller, Audi. Directly ahead of them, the winners of Spa 24, Nicholas Bard and Matteo Drudi. I mean, what are they doing down on the 19th row of the grid? You know that car had good pace in Spa, but it just didn't seem to find it in those 10 minutes of qualifying we had this morning.
Yeah, it's a car to watch, that, certainly, because in theory the Audi should have good pace around here. It's got a good pedigree, but we know, of course, that Audi not focusing on GT3 anymore. Other brands are, so it's becoming increasingly difficult for that car to get up the order. Although, in fairness, the Attempto racing team understands how to operate them, no question about that. But it's Ferrari to the 4, rather Italian front of the grid, isn't it? With the Lamborghini on the 2nd row as well. You've got that Mercedes in the mix, in the hands, to start with at least, of Lucas Auer. Charles Weerts in the traffic. It's going to be very difficult for him to gain places, I would have thought, off that first lap. But again, good strategy in the pits, quick pit stop time, get him out of the traffic early, could play into their hands. We'll find out. We are about to go racing then as the cars work their way up through the right-hander of the Sud Curve. 16 and 17 on the track map. It's one long curve in real terms. And Alessio Dono then on pole position. Ben Green alongside him, come up towards the lights, which go green. We are racing at Hockenheim. It's the Ferrari front row. The 2 of them go toe-to-toe. Down towards turn 1. Dono will turn in ahead of Ben Green. Lucas Auer on the inside. 1 or 2 run way wide going out of turn 1. Better that than contact, you could argue. And then they come up the short run towards turn 2, which in turn, having gone right, flicks you left through that little S-bend. And as they scrabble their way round the corner, look down from the drone, which is about to chase after them. Alessio Dono still leads. Ben Green is there in 2nd place, and Lucas Auer is 3rd.
Yeah, so the top 3, more or less as we anticipated. Ben Green got the jump into turn 1. But then Dono came back into turn 2. Now they're going side by side down the run into turn 6. Mercedes that little second or so behind the 2. Mercedes off the track coming down. You can see on the grass. And I can't read which one that is.
Now that, I think, is the Dustin Blattner, Dennis Marshall Porsche that's in strife in the background, having been roughed up a little bit, having been squeezed towards the grass. And Ben Green is absolutely determined, isn't he, to get past Alessio Dono. He feels he's got the speed to do it. He's conscious of where Lucas Auer is. Ben Green goes to the outside. Dono closes the door. Ben Green looks to get the undercut coming off the corner here. Tries to get up the inside out of turn 8. Again, can't do it. Alessio Dono still leads.
But right now, Lucas Auer has closed the gap, 2nd to 3rd. Now, these 2 Ferraris fighting corner for corner, has got the Mercedes right on the tail of the 2nd place Ferrari.
Alessio Dono, last year's Ferrari Challenge Europe champion, new to GT3 racing really this year, although he has had a go occasionally in the Italian Championship, so he's doing a very good job as Dan Harper again gets sort of crowded out on the outside line there by Thierry Vermeulen, but the BMW goes through. Good effort that by Dan Harper. pits, so not for nothing is he a BMW factory driver, moves himself up past Vermeulen. But look at this at the end of lap 1, because Dono has built that gap over Ben Green. Third over the timing line, Lucas Auer. Fourth is Hoffer. Fifth over the line, Gilles Magnus. And then in 6th place, Louis Pret. Dan Harper is 7th. Vermeulen is 8th. 9th is Benjamin Goethe. 10th is Callum Williams. And a huge scrum of cars there turning out of that first corner.
Well, the roar is like thunder. We're up in the commentary booth right above the grandstands here at Hockenheim. You could feel the vibration as all 32 cars made their way past on this opening lap.
Race leaders accelerating then now down to the Spitzkehre, and into the pits is indeed coming Dennis Marschall's Porsche. Effort being made there, look, by Charles Weerts, gets up the inside, looks to gain ground, and he has done so. So the BMW starting to edge its way forward as they now break, dive down through the Spitzkehre. That's Dan Harper's BMW, running nicely within that top 10, but Alessio Dono led by 0.8 of a second at the end of that opening lap, and he's trying to build on that again this time around.
Yes, in the meantime, Ben Green has got fastest sector time in that first sector on this lap. So he's not given up and letting that 71 AF Corsa Ferrari pull away from his car in 2nd place.
That's Callum Williams in number 30 BMW. He's got himself up past Benjamin Goethe by the look of it, so a place gained on this lap for Callum. Remember, he's 2nd in silver in the race to Alessio Dono. Down through turn 12. Charles Weerts' view here, don't forget, coming up towards the Sachs curve, and ahead of Weerts is, by the look of it, Jules Gounod. So Jules is also struggling in his Boots and VDS Mercedes, a team new to the cars this year. They've still not really got the best handle on them. Alessio Dono, though, leads at the end of lap 2. So Dono's Ferrari ahead of the Emil Frey Racing run car of Ben Green. Lucas Auer there 3rd. Hofer is 4th. 5th is Magnus. 6th is Pret. And the rest comes streaming through. Looking further down, Charles Weerts goes through there, and number 32 BMW up into 14th now from 19th on the grid, and another place possibly to be gained on this next lap.
Yeah, Dan Harper stuck the nose up the inside into turn 2. Wasn't quite alongside to be able to consolidate that position, but certainly we saw that pass on Thierry Vermeulen a couple of laps ago in the infield. So there Dan Harper manages to get the momentum off turn 4-5. This is turn 5. This is really a curve, not a corner. Side by side coming down into turn 6. BMW on the inside takes control.
So Dan Harper through. That BMW will be given away to Darren Leung, who is not that experienced, but reigning British champion with Dan Harper is Darren Leung, and a very quick guy. He's proved to be. He's done a lot of racing in a really short space of time. Dennis Marschall's Porsche, by the way, back into the race after its pit stop. It may have been a punter it picked up on that first lap. There's the sister car going right round the outside. The car that Sven Müller, Patrick Niederhauser share. And the Porsche goes through then. Sven Müller at the wheel of it.
Yeah, pretty standard overtake, but you have to make it do it to make it stick. So back into the stadium, into the Sachs curve. Ferrari, Mercedes, Lamborghini, top 4. And Lucas Auer in that middle sector had the fastest speed of anybody. So while he's dropped back fractionally, his pace is fundamentally still there.
If you drop back, confident you've got the pace to push again, does that help a little bit? You can have a lap just to get some cool air in the car?
I think you need to get some air, but primarily to look after your tyre. If you're running very close to the car you're pursuing, you can do more tyre damage than good. So by Lucas Auer just falling back, maybe that second and a bit, gives himself a chance to regroup and then make another push. We're only on our completed 3 laps onto lap 4, so we've got another, what, 20-odd minutes to go before the pit lane window will open up.
So 5 minutes were done the last time the leader crossed the line, and the race leader is still Alessio Dono. Then the leading silver, the leading pro is Ben Green, the leading bronze is Dan Harper, and the leading gold is Max Hofer. Actually, the Hofer versus Magnus fight is worth keeping an eye on. They're not nose to tail yet, but the gap between them is not that vast as they come up towards the Spitzkehre. There is Hofer, there is Gilles Magnus behind him. Dan Harper right on the tail of the white Audi. And if you could get rid of Harper, Magnus can concentrate on Hofer. So there they go, look, the blue-nose Lamborghini, the white Audi, they're the top 2 in gold.
Well, you can see the battles all the way through. The Ferrari getting really an attempt not to pass, but to get position on the exit out of the Sachs curve. Ferrari hugs the tight line, allows the BMW to try and get up alongside, didn't get enough drive off the Sachs curve, so has to consolidate, drop back again, coming up into these corners that, this is coming out of these turns 7, 8 and 9. Didn't have the chance, so now into the stadium itself. And then the run down into the Sachs curve. So the 30 BMW
So the race leaders up towards the end of the lap. Alessio Dono will come through clearing the lead. He was 1.6 seconds to the good last time, and on that lap as he breaks the timing beam ahead of Ben Green, 1.7, a little bit of pace gained. Alessio Dono has still done the fastest lap of the race. That last lap from our personal best, but slower than the Ferraris. Max Hofer is still 4th ahead of Gilles Magnus. Dan Harper is still 6th, heading bronze ahead of Louis Pret. Now don't forget that Louis Pret will give way in his McLaren to Miguel Ramos, whereas Dan Harper will give way to Darren Lung. Interesting second stint that is going to be, and we are still, as John was making the point, quite a long way off that pit window opening.
Well, here's the move in preparation. Dan Harper gets up alongside Gilles Magnus, coming through that curve at 5. Again, puts himself into the pole position, if you want, down into turn 6. So he just holds Magnus out. He doesn't let Magnus get the chance to try and make the undercut, which he was seeking to do. But again, great racecraft skill from Dan Harper. Gains a position now, looking forward to the Lamborghini in 4th position. Yeah, that BMW has got a lot of pace around here. And interesting, isn't it? Because they look to be struggling within qualifying, but that is a very good race car in the hands of Dan Harper. So he's hustling on. Don't forget, Dan Harper started 13th on the grid, and now you've got him up into the top 5. This is really good. Yes, I mean, he did a good job in the opening laps, but he is one of the few people who's consistently caught, overtaken, and moved on. So that's whatever BMW have done with that particular, the 991 BMW Century Motorsport, to get it into this condition, to be able to challenge, is impressive. Look, he's almost by the corner, catching the tail of the 4th place Max Hofer Lamborghini. And Charles Wirtz is up into 12th from 19th on the grid. That's another BMW racing better than he qualified as the leaders go through, and it is still Alessio Dono in the lead of the race then by 1.7 seconds from Ben Green. You've got Lucas Au still hanging on in there in 3rd place. Max Hofer is 4th, and the fastest lap of the race has just been done by Dan Harper. So even having to overtake people, he's still the quickest man on the circuit. Well, that's probably part of the reason why he's overtaking people. He is right now the quickest driver car pairing on the racetrack. You can see him just coming into view there, the red BMW behind the white and blue Lamborghini, and watch how Harper's making progress. This is on lap 6. I bet you by the time we get to that position on lap 7, the gap will have closed. He may even be ahead. Max Hofer then, the Gold Cup leading car. Good battle here. Look, Callum Williams battling with Sandy Mitchell. I would offer you that for Barwell in the Lamborghini. Comes to the outside line. It is not. It is Thierry Vermeulen's Ferrari. So Thierry Vermeulen has dropped back behind Callum Williams now. The BMW gains a spot. And interesting that the Vermeulen Ferrari hasn't got the pace of the two up the road, especially given that Ben Green's comes out of the same team as Vermeulen's car. Well, there is the picture. Harper ahead. Harper ahead. It didn't take the lap I anticipated. I mean, he is absolutely flying. Again, last lap, quickest lap of the race. Personal best sector time in this current lap. Dan Harper is just, he's going to catch up to the back of Lucas Sauer. He, apart from being the quickest car overall in one lap, he's the quickest car outside of the fastest lap of everybody. Absolutely flying, as you say, and he's not done yet. So Dan Harper, the CrowdStrike fastest lap holder thus far, but of course that might change on a second set of tyres with a lower fuel load in that second stint. We will see over the line. Dono to Green, 1.7 seconds. Lucas Au 3rd, and then Dan Harper, the only one in the leading group, lapping in the 139s. He's the quickest man on the circuit, and Dan Harper could gain yet more ground before the pit window, because he will go a little bit longer maybe than one or two others, given that he's quicker than Darren Lung. That's a bronze car. Yes, I would think undoubtedly Century Motorsport will want to keep Dan Harper behind the wheel as long as possible, and therefore give Darren Lung the shorter stint. And of course that means likewise the fuel load's going to come down. You're going to get longer, get fresh rubber to give him that little bit of extra confidence as you look down through the field. And that is the WRT BMW pulling out. Cannot get the job done, not quite under braking, so Callum Williams had to pull back in. But undoubtedly, Louis Pret in 7th place in the Garage 59 Lamborghini is feeling the heat, as have others so far from the BMW. Not great performances in qualifying, no, but definitely a totally different race car. Yeah, Harper, Wirtz and Williams, in fairness, all making progress in this opening stint of the race. So the BMW is looking like, well, different cars fundamentally. Alessio Dono leads. Look at the gap he's pulling over the opposition then from Ben Green, Lucas Au, Dan Harper 4th, Hofer 5th, Gilles Magnus 6th, and there Louis Pret under attack, as John has made the point, from Callum Williams. And look at this for the lead of gold. Max Hofer now being reeled in by Gilles Magnus, the German driver ahead of the Belgian driver, both of them former touring car racers.
now very much stars of GT3 racing. And as they come up now then into the final right-hander, Max Hofer will come up across the line. He will break the timing beam any second to see on that lap whether he's getting away or not from Gilles Magnus. Dan Harper, by the way, still pressing on ahead and pulling clear. And look, Lucas Auer is coming back at Ben Green there for second place.
Yes, it looks like maybe Dan Harper, his performance has peaked. We're on now the 8th lap, and that's Lucas Auer has now beginning to move forward. And maybe you might anticipate that from the Mercedes. We know what a great car it is on its tyres. And as we get through, coming up to almost midway in the opening stint, now Lucas Auer is going to go about his work. He's reeling in Ben Green in the Emile Frey Ferrari, coming down into turn 6. There's the gap differences over the last 3 laps, over a quarter of a second, a bit over a tenth and a bit much. So good progress right now from the Austrian driver in the 3rd place Mercedes AMG GT3.
The fastest lap of the race has gone the way of the man that's last. Dennis Marchal, after his pit stop, running in clear air, is absolutely flying. So that sort of tricks you into thinking that the Porsche has got good pace. The car, though, that Sven Muller is driving is 16th and absolutely stuck fast in the traffic. Lucas Auer then goes through shots, still chasing after Ben Green, tantalisingly close, but not able yet to think about making a move. Hofer goes through. He's got away a little bit on this lap from Gilles Magnus.
Yes, the gaps are seesawing. As you look back to see the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini coming into the stadium. This is where they run way wide. Of course, gravel on the very outside. You do not want to hit that gravel, because you can just rotate the car and send you straight off to the barrier on the right-hand side. Exit the Sachs curve, then this quick right, left, right, and then it's all about getting the car just tippy-toe all the way through, over the crest, let it settle, and then you make your cut back for turn 17, back onto start-finish straight.
On board with Sandy Mitchell for Barwell, speed building as he comes up towards the line, grabs 4th. 5th gear down towards turn 1, and then it's down through the gears, turn in. Alessio Dono still leads the way. Sandy Mitchell then going through and chasing after Benjamin Goethe. There's a whole traffic jam though here. Goethe ahead of Mitchell, ahead of Lorenzo Petresi, ahead of Jules Gounon.
Get the feeling right now that Louis Pret is beginning to become not the obstacle, but his pace cannot match that of the BMW directly ahead. But you've got Vermeulen, Wertz, Goethe, Mitchell, Petresi, Gounon, Jules Gounon, 14th position. Hard to believe.
It is, isn't it? Those Boots and VDS Mercedes have struggled this year, and the big challenge there, look, Charles Weerts on the outside, trying to get himself up past Vermeulen, and he's done it, coming out of the Spitzkehrer. Great move by Charles Weerts, 19th. That car started, and now Charles Weerts up into 9th place. Fantastic stint.
Yes, very good stint. Remember the message that was given to him by the WRT team about no brake cooling ducts, but therefore on your out lap you need to get brake and tire temperature up. It's taken a number of laps for the WRT team BMW to achieve that, but now he's in that right sort of working area. He's got the natural pace, and I expect to see Charles Weerts again start to move forward and catch up to the next car up, which will probably be, yes, Louis Pret and the Garage 59 McLaren.
Yeah, they've had 2 outright wins already this year, Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thort. So let's see whether a third might be possible this weekend. Not this race, I doubt, unless they can have a late race safety car to claw back some of the lost time from 19th on the grid, but it does show you can never rule out WRT. The leading car, though, is now 2 seconds clear. Alessio Dono has just done a really good lap to get away by half a second from Ben Green. I wonder whether Ben had a moment somewhere, because to junk half a second is quite something, and Lucas Auer in 3rd place, much closer to him.
Yeah, so Lucas Auer, for whatever reason, has reeled in the 2nd place Ferrari. There is that battle for 2nd and 3rd positions. Lucas Auer too far behind to think about a lunge at this point. Maybe not by the time he gets down into the braking zone. So covered by Ben Green. Now up down the inside. Wow, what a move. And so may a dummy, but Ben Green saw it coming, gave working room, a little bit of hip and shoulder there, coming off turn 6, but that was a late break from Lucas Auer, and I mean, great television we saw live from the cockpit and from the cameras at turn 6.
But he couldn't make that move stick, ran wide, opened the door back for Ben Green, and now tries to get up the inside at turn 8 there, but to no avail. Ben Green fending him off, so that Ferrari may not be fighting for the race lead, but Ben is not prepared to give up 2nd spot.
As these two battle for 2nd place, don't forget Dan Harper in 4th place. He did drop back almost to 2.5 seconds behind Lucas Auer, but these two are going to actually screw one another up. That's going to bring the BMW and make this a 3-way battle, I think, before we see the first round of pit stops open, and that could be a 3-way battle for 2nd place.
Absolutely right. All of which, of course, is playing into the hands of the leader, Alessio Dono, to build that lead. I tell you what, the pressure's going to be on Tom Fleming, isn't it? First race back after injury, and he's got to deliver in a leading car and not make any mistakes and hang on to that well-won lead of Alessio Dono. From Ben Green there second, Lucas Auer third as they go through. Dan Harper is still running in fourth place. Fifth, it's Max Hofer. In sixth is then Callum Williams now, having got himself up past Gilles Magnus, so he split the gold leaders. That's the leading silver car. And Wirtz is up to 8th. Vermeulen is 9th and Pret is 10th.
All getting quite tense. 18 minutes or so into this 1 hour race. There's the view from Lucas Auer. He made the move coming down into turn 6 and 1 lap ago. He's a little bit further behind, but you can't deny he might still make a move. He puts the car into the mirrors of Ben Green, but he's too far behind this time, so he can make a little bit of preparation. And his next opportunity, maybe as he comes up into turn 8, where there's a serious braking zone. He's going to come through turn 7 now, but really not quite close enough to think about it. He had a little sniff, looked at it again, just to try and distract Ben Green by putting the nose of the Mercedes into the mirrors, or the TV camera, whatever the Ferrari carries, to keep him looking. Where's that number? Mercedes gone.
So there through goes Lucas Auer, third in that Winward Racing run. Mercedes. Russell Ward is the man behind Winward Racing, the American team running this car for Mercedes-AMG. Antonia is with Russell Ward right now.
I'm here with Russell Ward, who is co-team owner here at Winward. Russell, you've got some blimmin' good cars this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what you get when you get one of these Mercedes-AMG GT3s. Just an awesome package right out of the box. It's fast, and the guys are doing an amazing job. Lucas did an incredible job in qualifying, and it looks like he's breathing down the neck of the Ferrari, so hopefully you can get by him soon.
It must be so nice having Mauro and Lucas and so much home support here this weekend. Do you really feel that at the core of the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got here this morning, and it seems like the spirits are really high, and the guys are really hungry for a good result. I mean, they definitely have the car, definitely have the crew, so I think they can get it done.
Oh, I'm sure they'll make your long flight worth it. All the best this weekend. Thank you for speaking with us.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you.
And there could be a place change yet, because here comes Lucas Auer once again. Ben Green, though, goes defensive, covers off the inside line. Lucas Auer wants to go wide in and tight out, but I don't think Ben Green is going to leave the door open, is he? Absolutely not. Stops the car on the apex almost, and says to Lucas Auer, you've got to go the long way round, and that includes the grass.
Yeah, Lucas Auer, I thought he was going to try and make the cut back. What Ben Green did is he did the right thing to protect his second and sort of stop Lucas Auer from making his counter move, and you could see the consequence as they came out of turn 6. Lucas Auer was almost on the grass again, 2 wheels, and he had to almost come out of the throttle to avoid contact with the rear of the Ferrari.
And as you were alluding to a little earlier, Dan Harper, little by little, is getting there. He's creeping up onto the tail of them in the BMW in 4th place, out wide over the curb. 2nd and 3rd go. While this squabble is going on, 2.6 seconds up the road is Alessio Dono. We're 5 minutes off that pit window opening, as there is the Ferrari then in 2nd place, coming up towards turn 16.
So, Ben Green, the back of the Ferrari, sliding as he went over the curbs through turn 16 into 17. Those are the little tells that you look for when you're pursuing, when you're putting pressure on the car you're trying to run down. So what is going to be the outcome when we come down into turn 6 once again? Mauro Engel preparing. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be an early stop for Lucas Auer, but you have to be ready. The takeover driver, the second driver, needs to be prepared from the minute the pit lane window is going to be open. In the event the team make a last-minute call, pit, and then Europe, box.
Absolutely so these days, modern parlance. Charles Wirtz still pressing on and looking to try to gain more ground in this opening stint, as you see here, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Look at the gap they have pulled in turn there. In the background, 5th is Callum Williams. In 6th place, Max Hofer. Charles Wirtz is up into 7th place now from 19th on the grid, remember. This is an amazing stint by Wirtz.
It's a transitional race for all BMWs. I mean, Callum Williams was the best qualifying BMW, but we're seeing great drives from Dan Harper, great drive from Charles Wirtz, who's had to work his way all the way through the mid-pack to put himself into certainly what is it now, comfortable 7th and challenging for 6th position. Lamborghini started in the 2nd row of the grid. I thought it might have done better. It's just begun to fade. Here's the battle for 2nd, getting intense indeed. Back into the stadium.
As out wide goes Lucas Auer, steps over the curb. Dan Harper almost with them, lap by lap. He's getting closer, isn't he, as they come off the Sachs curve now. Ben Green feeling the pressure once more. Behind them, still hanging on in there in 5th place, albeit a little bit further back, is Callum Williams. 6th is Max Hoffer, and Charles Wirtz 7th, having had another fabulous couple of laps to gain further ground. Leader goes through. Let's not forget Alessio Dono up front, the leading driver from the Silver Cup. Ben Green versus Lucas Auer, and that's your lead battle within Pro. Dan Harper 4th from bronze.
Well, there's a question of who do you keep out. You have to imagine they're going to keep Alessio Dono out, but would you keep Ben Green out? Lucas Auer, very much similar to Maro Engel. Dan Harper, probably keep him out. Callum Williams, probably keep him out. Yeah. Keep the lead group of cars are probably going to stay out to the limit of that 10-minute pit lane window.
But Wirtz, I can imagine being brought in early to get him out of traffic.
Possibility, because Dries van Thor is mercurial. Now look at Dan Harper, how much he's closed up to this battle. Initially the gap was static, now it's closed up to it's a 3-way battle. Dan Harper's the one that's got the momentum to close down.
Out wide went Ben Green, made a mistake there coming out of the Spitzkehrer. That puts Lucas Auer up the inside. They're absolutely mirror to mirror going down the straight now into the Mercedes arena. Ferrari gets forced out wide. Ben Green's got the inside line for the corner. He will go back through, but he's going to go out wide. Here comes Auer. He's on the pedal. He goes up the inside. That's the outside for the next corner, but he's got the job done, and Dan Harper tries to open the door as well. He's up the inside line. Do we see red? We do on the inside. Ben Green tries to defend, and Dan Harper goes through as well. 2 places lost in really a handful of corners by Ben Green.
But Ben Green's coming back. Dan Harper ran wide coming into the stadium, so he's got that position back. And that all began because Ben Green ran wide on the exit of turn 6, opened up the opportunity to Lucas Auer, and Dan Harper thought a little bit of that as well, but he got slightly wrong-footed himself coming into the stadium. Wow, what a great battle between these 3 cars.
So now you're going to see what pace Lucas Auer has really got, because there's a clear real estate ahead of him, and he's also gapped Green enough not to have to worry about defending. So through he goes. It's game on now. Dono versus Auer. 4.3 seconds is the starting point. 3rd is Ben Green. 4th is Dan Harper.
Well, on the last lap, the gap in terms of time, now 2nd to 1st was about a 10th of a second. So Dono is consolidating. But now that you've released Lucas Auer in the Mercedes-AMG GT3, he can do what we know he could do, and that is charge. Look at the gap, how quickly he's opened up between now 2nd and 3rd place Ferrari. And again, Dan Harper looking to find a way to make that, put the Ferrari back into 4th place. He's got the run coming down into turn 6, too far, and again, defense from Ben Green, but make the undercut, don't get too close now, cut back without touching the back of the Ferrari. I think it's probably, well, he's got a good drive off, the BMW's got good drive coming off turn 6, now side by side, and I think Ben Green's getting his elbows out all over the place.
Doesn't like being overtaken, does he? Dan Harper goes through. Ben Green closing up again, under braking at turn 8. Oh, frantic stuff, at the BMW stays ahead. Don't pick on me, says Dan Harper.
Ted barely can get all the words out in the right order, let alone out at all. Great battles going on in these lead 4 cars.
So Ben Green's Ferrari, yes, it's lost places, but it isn't at the moment having the pace to instantly fight back. Look at the way that Lucas Auer is getting away. I wonder how much further that Ferrari may fall over the remainder of the race. We will see, bearing in mind it's a quick car under normal circumstances anyway. That Ben Green and Conso Lappaline on the 2 drivers. And as Ben Green accelerates down towards the stadium, that's the replay of Dan Harper getting up on the inside, but the leaning between the 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was hip and shoulder by a new level. So Dan Harper had to stand on the brakes. He didn't really get the line into the corner. He wanted pit lane, of course, is now open. But we expect to see the lead cars, Dono, Auer, Harper, Callum Williams. We've seen Ben Green has come in.
Yeah.
There is the Ferrari that for many laps was in 2nd place.
I wonder whether that was tyres that were going off. He worked them so hard in defence. Eventually they might have given up the struggle.
I think that's been very much the case. It was always going to be a difficult race, even though this is only a 30-minute stint. The track temperature, the ambient temperature is so high, and the just tyres, they just cry enough. I'm trying to cry in sympathy, but that's what you get. So an overtake, so the 32 has lost that position. So WRT didn't make such a good pit stop. The Amiel Ferrari has gotten out ahead of Dries van Thor.
But it was there anyway, wasn't it? It was ahead when they came into the pit still. So that car, I think, has maintained track position, number 14 Ferrari. If anything, I would say the BMW is a little bit nearer now.
Yeah, so I was confusing it with Dan Harper.
Yeah.
So it was Dan Harper has yet to come in. It was the Charles Verts car. So Verts has handed over to Dries van Voor, who's immediately all over the back of the Ferrari.
Yeah, Ben Green has given away to Konsta Lapalainen and should be able to make his way through. Lapalainen not as experienced a GT star as Dries van Voor. He's trying to brave it out under braking for the Spitzkehrer. Wait for van Voor to get the switch back. There it is, inside line, puts his foot to the boards. And there's enough real estate for him to get the BMW nicely alongside, and job easily done.
Yeah, I mean, it's an overrun into turn 6. Allowed that undercut to come. Dries van Voor, so experienced, so knowledgeable, and a great race driver as well. So Konsta Lapalainen, and maybe he did what he could do, but it was up against such a level of experience and track knowledge. It was going to be not a sitting duck, but it was going to be a relatively easy target for Dries van Voor.
Gilles Magnus down the pit lane, Thierry Vermeulen down the pit lane, Lorenzo Petresi down the pit lane, Jules Gounon down the pit lane. The pit lane's getting busy if you haven't spotted, and Alessio Dono, the race leader, is staying out, maximising his time behind the wheel. But the pace of Dries van Voor is going to be absolutely fascinating. Now, what WRT could do with is a safety car. Make sure they can eat back some of the lost time. However, we don't yet know what the order is going to be after that pit window. Lucas Auer has stayed out for the minute in 48 Mercedes as well. Dan Harper is staying out. Callum Williams is staying out. Louis Pret also staying out. And so that means that the best of the pit stoppers potentially will be Van Voor. But we'll check at the end of the next lap.
So there is our race leader. He is on currently his 17th lap, Alessio Dono. And he's just had a dream start. Never really seriously challenged other than momentarily into turn 2 on the opening lap, but once he got ahead of the 14 Emil Frey Racing Ferrari, has just only seen clear air. You don't see clear air, you drive in clear air.
Well, he's barely seen another car, has he? Because he's not really had to think about lappering. He might do on his next lap, which could be his last, coming up towards the line, because there, look, just up the road ahead is the Laurence Lequeta driven Aston Martin. Lucas Auer is into the pit lane then, so Auer in at the end of lap 17.
So this is the undercut. So I just wonder, we're going to see the 48 Winward Racing man filter. Mercedes, Lucas Auer, done a great job as always. Now Marco Engel, two virtually equally matched drivers, and this is going to be really all down to this get in, the time standing. Get your driver out, Lucas Auer out, Maro Engel in, take the seat filler out because Maro Engel is slightly the taller of the two, assist with the seat belts, get all the netting attached, get your radio connected if you've got well, you wouldn't have a drinks bottle, but any other accoutrements within the cockpit.
And you saw Lucas Auer there just closing the door against himself so the mechanics could more easily get past rather than wasting a second by them having to run a little bit longer around the car. The Mercedes is on its way, but the BMW is going to come out of turn 1 very, very close and up to full pace. But Maro Engel stays ahead of Dries van Voor. But look at that, Van Voor up behind Engel. That was the car that was second when it pitted. And now Van Voor's car from 19th on the grid is pretty much tucked up behind. That shows you how much pace number 32 BMW has made.
All BMWs this afternoon have shown pace, which they were hiding, disguising or whatever in qualifying this morning.
So now it is Alessio Dono ahead of Dan Harper for the race lead, and your best placed pit stopper is there, the yellow Mercedes in the hands of Maro Engel, who wants to get himself up past Leclerc here if he can, gets up the inside of the Aston, and the Mercedes AMG growls through. Engel goes by, coming down towards turn 8. Race leader into the pit lane. So on lap 18, race leader into the pit lane. Alessio Dono down the pit road now.
You know, you see little spikes in lap times. Well, Lucas Leggeret has just about, in fact, just changed as I'm speaking. Fastest sector time in sector 1. That's a car that was running all the way down in 26th position. Where these times come from, I don't know, whether it's just a set of tires or whether it's just inspiration, combined, whatever, but single sector time out of the blue.
Yeah, Ricardo Fella just doing the same in sector 1 now, so I think it is lighter car on a new set of boots, isn't it? And also a driver fresh into the car, not feeling any heat, just eager to get on with the programme here as Alessio Dono gives way to Tom Fleming, who is waved away. Pressure is on now to keep that car in the lead of the race. Dan Harper is going to come in imminently for Century. We've also got coming down the pit lane Cesar Gazot, and through into the lead goes Engel. Up into second place now goes Van Voor, and I reckon fourth for Tom Fleming because Konsta Lapalainen's Ferrari is going to go through as well. So where did all the time go in that pit stop for what had been the leading car? The pit time was 51 seconds, others doing it in the mid-40s.
Need to see that all again. I mean, obviously Tom Fleming had to get into the Ferrari, Alessio Dono had to get out of it. but to lose that amount of time, very, very disappointing for A, of course. Tom, of course, coming back, this is his comeback drive from that incident in Misano in early May. And having only driven here, I believe this is the first time he got behind the wheel of a car when he came here this weekend. But that isn't the reason why the car has lost the lead and lost 3 positions to boot.
No, he did a 51.9 second stop, but Vanthor's stop was 42.6, so it's lost 9 seconds against that BMW. So whether it was slow down the pit lane, didn't look like a slow release, but it was just a sluggish stop. And not only that, it's going to put it on the back foot against number 30 BMW. Callum Williams has just brought that in to give way to Sam de Haan. That's, of course, the other battle 71 Ferrari is involved in for silver honours. But now you've got Maro Engel, I should say, versus Dries Van Voor for the win. And that car from 19th on the grid.
After qualifying, the words would never have passed our lips. BMW might win here this afternoon.
Well,
now it is a realistic possibility. Dries Van Voor running down Maro Engel. The gap between them, there they come on to pit straight. You can see the gap. It's a little over a second. Maro Engel knows exactly what he's got to do. He's been in these positions so many occasions, and we know how good the Mercedes is on his tires, but equally we know how good Dries Van Voor is when he gets the sniff of a victory behind the wheel of a BMW, which is a totally different car to the one that we saw in qualifying this morning.
Dries Van Voor, fastest lap of the race, 1:39.281. There is Callum Williams' car, now with Sam de Haan at the wheel of it. And that has got the silver lead look, because that also has jumped ahead of Tom Fleming. So Eliseo Dono's first stint has rather been unravelled, not only in terms of the overall lead, but the class lead as well. It may have been a slow in lap that cost a little bit of time. It was certainly a slow pit stop, but it's all, when you add it together, cost that car a huge amount of time.
Well, that's a question only could be answered in the pit lane, but maybe the team wouldn't want to be confronted with a question like that, because clearly losing that level of time is not part of the script. As we ride on board with Dries Van Voor, as we come through this sort of slow turn 8.
There's 32, Dries Van Voor, then quickest man on the circuit. Dan Harper's just pitted. Let's just go to 32 though and listen to the team radio.
Dries, so we are P2 overall behind Engel, P2 overall.
So P2 for a car that started 19th. This could be the biggest win. I'll have to delve into the Anorak pocket to see what is the lowest ever grid position a Sprint Cup race winner has had, but this has got to be up there, hasn't it?
My territory, really, isn't it?
So I reckon it could be a history-making, biggest gain from grid to finishing position. Dries Van Voor then is going after Maro Engel, and the gap between them is 11 tenths of a second with 25.5 minutes to go.
It's going to be a tough battle between these two really hardened professionals. Dries Van Voor, the younger of the two, but in terms of racing experience and racing nous, there's nothing to pick and choose between Maro Engel and Dries Van Voor. The third place Ferrari falling back, and it may well fall into the clutches of Tom Fleming, we think is overall in 4th place. Look at timing and scoring. So there is the view that Dries Van Voor has got on the rear of the Mercedes. Runs out wide again, it's all part of this play with the mind, play with the mirrors on the lead car. Put your red BMW into those mirrors, make sure the driver's looking in the mirrors more than he's thinking about what he's doing on his own. And bit by bit, it's only by tenths of seconds here and there, Van Voor is gradually getting closer to the tail of the Mercedes.
So right now, gap coming down between Van Voor and the man he's chasing, Maro Engel, but that Mercedes is certainly not slow, but the BMW, whether there's been a BOP adjustment at lunchtime is possible, but all of the BMWs, as we keep saying, are just different race cars this afternoon compared to qualifying.
Well, it's one of those mysteries that sometimes descends on a race meeting, where suddenly performances just pop up they weren't in qualifying. I mean, I'm familiar with that scenario. Oh, side by side contact, and that's the...
It's one of the Audis, isn't it? Is that Patrese or Ferrari's car? Gets going again as the leaders go through. And the Audi has got going again. So the BMWs that have had it confirmed had a BOP adjustment during the gap between qualifying and the race, looking a lot more racy. But Engel now getting into his stride as well, and if he could just hang on, he only has to win by 1,000th, as long as he hangs on to the win. Here's for silver. Now, Sam de Haan versus Tom Fleming. The Ferrari admittedly has lost the lead, but Tom Fleming wants to come back with a win, and he's going the right way about it. And we know that's a quick car.
Yes, but we've seen from BMW their overall performance has been outstanding. And this is the lead car, the Ferrari. Tom Fleming just taking over from Alessio Dono, and he's got a big task to get on terms with Sam de Haan. He's not going to be an easy case to pass.
So there, into the Mercedes arena goes the silver battle. So it's a very happy Charles Weerts now. 19th he started, second the car is. He's with Antonio.
Charles, at the start of the weekend, could you even have begun to expect this kind of pace?
Well, definitely not in the race. We thought that initially in qualifying we could survive because we know we can make our tires work for one lap. Clearly it was not the case this morning. I had some issues on my qualifying. That's also why we started so far away. But we were expecting to suffer quite a lot in the race, since we know it's a low grip track with very high temperatures, which is what our car doesn't like. So yeah, we obviously worked on the car. There's been some very light BOP changes that went in the right direction. To be honest, we did not think it was enough. But yeah, clearly now it looks like our car seems to work much better than we expected. So yeah, I mean, we are fighting against the Merc in front, so hopefully Dries can overtake him. But for sure, at the start of the race, I would have never imagined it would be second now with still 20 minutes to go. But yeah, they did an amazing job. Also, I think we had a good first part of the race. So yeah, still 20 minutes to go. So let's see what we can do. But it's for sure much better than expected.
Yeah, it's such a lovely turnaround. Now, bless you, you've got beads of sweat running down your face. Can you try and put into words just how hot and how hard it is from the driver's perspective?
Yeah, it's very hot, but when you drive, you just focus about doing the best job you can, and it's when you get out that you get all the heat. So when you drive, it's okay because you're so focused on what you want to do, which is to fight to go to the front, and then it's when you are done that you are cooking really.
Okay, well, it seems to be worth it. Currently leading in your class and on for an overall race lead. Do you think the car has the potential?
I mean, I think we are second in our class since Engel is first and also in the pro, but I mean, we definitely have the pace to fight with them. So yeah, now I will leave it up to Dries, and I'm sure he will do an amazing job.
Of course, go sit down.
See you.
Yeah, just to clarify, they are second in pro to Mario Engel, but this is the current battle that we're focused on. Callan Williams' car with Sam de Haan at the wheel of it, ahead of Alessio Dono's Ferrari now with Tom Fleming at the wheel. And this is for the lead of silver. It's 4th and 5th overall, but Tom Fleming wants to try and recover from that slow pit stop.
Remember, Tom Fleming is also returning to the cockpit, having had a significant spinal injury in Misano. So to get back in after recovering ahead of what maybe his doctors thought he might be able to do. Very impressive return from Tom Fleming.
And there, the top speeds in silver. Sam de Haan, the fastest driver currently in terms of the VMAX top speed. So as the drivers then now come up towards the exit of turn 3, we have got the number 12 Aston Martin. That's the car that Dante Raponge and Laurence Lequerture share. That's been given a 5-second penalty for abusing track limits. But Engel to Van Thor then. It was 11 tenths. It is now 1.2 seconds. Consta Lapalainen is third, but that car dropping away a little bit. There are the race leaders then. This is lap 24, and we've got just under 20 minutes to go. But Van Thor now looking almost like he's plateaued a little bit. He's struggling to make up that last full second.
Yes, and I think part of that is that he's gotten within that second zone of the Mercedes, and the effect, the aero wash, or the other effect you get when you're following it within a second or so of a car you're pursuing, that is something that can actually cause your car to lose that little bit of balance that you might have enjoyed, the balance that gave you the pace to catch up to second place overall.
And there you've got the race progression graphic showing the place he's gained by Charles Weerts over the course of his stint, and Dries Van Thor from the pit stop onwards. So second that car runs, there it is, 19th it started, bear in mind. Third on the grid was the car that leads there, the Mercedes. So just think about the amount of time that BMW has brought back, absolutely gobbled up the amount of space over the course of now 24 laps that are done, and the margin hovering around 11 tenths of a second as Engel comes up towards us at turn 2. Consta Lapalainen dropping away in third. Further back in goal, by the way, it is now number 25 Audi ahead. Paul Everard has taken over the lead on the pit stops from the Luca Engschler and Max Hofer Lamborghini.
There's, I think, a pass in the making here for the lead in the silver category coming as they go on to the back straight, or the long curve straight. We watch this battle between the Audi, Paul Everard, Engler behind in the Lamborghini, and then following him is Giacomo Altway. So this is a three-way, four-way battle for gold. So just Scott Fleming trying to get the Lamborghini again to get on terms with the Audi into turn 6, but too far back. But just again, use your nose to distract.
Yeah, the Engler team, having switched from Audi to Lamborghini, thought they got it right. Now maybe thinking, well, perhaps the Audi still has some decent pace. But they know the Lamborghini may be a little bit better. They operate that car in DTM. We've had the Mad Panda Mercedes retire, and Louis Pret also, 188, having gone well early on, has retired Ricardo Feller in the pits. I think that's a retirement also, because that happened about 4 laps ago. That may well have been the car that we saw spin and have some damage. Wonder whether Louis Pret got involved in that. And the Mad Panda Mercedes, big question mark over why that's coming. It's not really been sparkling today, but it's not done many laps. Leaders have gone by. You're looking at this Gold Cup battle being chased by Giacomo Altway. The lead margin has just gone up a little bit, 1.3 seconds. So is the BMW now starting to fade, or is Dries van Voor just having a gentler lap to look after the rubber? In bronze, by the way, Darren Lung's BMW is still ahead after Dan Harper's great first stint.
Well, I suspect the battle for first place is a bit of both. Maybe the BMW's peaked, but at the same time, oh, Tom Fleming almost got himself up alongside into turn 2, but definitely going to have a real pop at the BMW. Sam DeHaan behind the wheel coming through that long curve, turn 5, and the gap again is extended as they pick up speed. But that was the first serious challenge from the former lead Ferrari number 71, Tom Fleming, behind the wheel.
Yeah, so as you say, he's lost a length or two, needs to regroup, push on again, but he's still got 16.5 minutes in which to do it as they come now out of the Spitzkehre. Speed building on the run now down into the Mercedes arena. BMW versus Ferrari, and again, it's interesting to see where they've got their respective strengths. The BMW looks like a good car in a straight line where the power comes, whereas under braking and through the twiddly bits, the Ferrari, the aero-friendly Ferrari, you may expect to have the advantage. Tom Fleming then, having been closing over the last couple of laps, presses on behind Callan Williams, behind Sam DeHaan's car as it is now. It was Callan that drove it in stint 1. It's Sam DeHaan at the wheel now. In the first sector of the lap, the Ferrari was quicker. In the second, he'd lost a little bit of ground. And then you've got a similar battle going on here in gold, where Gilles Magnus has started the Audi that Paul Everard drives. Luca Engler took over from Max Huffer, and they're absolutely together with Giacomo Altway for the Pro Cup, looking to get between them.
There's a great little four-way battle with the Porsche. Suddenly we're seeing a Porsche really, for the first time, looking like it could be a race car. Patrick Niederhauser behind the wheel of that. Well, we know that Patrick Niederhauser is one of the best overall racers. So the Lamborghini still, there's pulling out to get cooler air into the radiators. We've seen a number of drivers pull out as they come up to a corner. I always put it down to get in the mirror of the driver ahead of you, but maybe it's as much as that as it is just getting a little mouthful of fresher, slightly cooler air, than that's coming from the rear of the Audi or whatever you might be involved with.
Well, right now, Luca Engler looking for a way by Paul Everard, a car that qualified on pole in gold, wanting a race win as well. And down towards the Spitzkehre hairpin they go then. Let's see, he's not close enough, I don't think, Engler here, unless he has a real dive. Pulls out, possibly to distract Everard, and also to try to cover off Altway, who's got Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche bearing down on him as well. The Rutronic racing car there, looking a bit more racy as well than it did in qualifying. So this little bunch getting closer all the while. Flash of the lights there comes from Altway against Engler. And there you can see the top speeds within the Gold Cup. Simon Gachet, Lorenzo Petresi the fastest, to Gilles Magnus the third fastest through the VMAX point. And he's doing his best, Paul Everard now, to hang on to that class lead from Luca Engler behind him.
Of this group of cars, it's Patrick Niederhauser who's fourth, keeping his powder dry. Let these three cars get a little bit elbow out, a bit racy. He's just sitting there waiting, and he's not using his car in an aggressive manner. The three ahead of them are doing so because they're all effectively defending. Niederhauser's the first car who only has to think forward. Nobody behind him to worry him.
Now this is Patrick Niederhauser. This is the Porsche. The Rutronic racing car has had a tough weekend thus far, but we know that Niederhauser is quick and making his way on the tail of Altway over the line. So they're sixth overall. Paul Everard ahead of Luca Engler as they go by. And Engschler, a bit like Vanthor, is close, but not close enough to think about a move. Pulls out to try to distract Paul Everard. Coming up towards turn 2, pulls back in again. The lead gap, by the way, there was 9/10 of a second at the start of the lap, and Vanthor up the inside, coming to the Spitzkehrer. A little bit of a rub between the two of them, and that's going to be a drag race down towards the Mercedes arena. And Engel tries to move across and crowd. Vanthor keeps on coming. They're going to be absolutely together. The BMW up the inside forces Engel off the road, and Maro has to give way. Vanthor, race leader on lap 28, but that might be worth giving back. He runs wide anyway. Engel comes up alongside him and retakes the place.
Very messy, but great television. And we saw our move. We didn't capture it in total down into turn 6. Got the job done then. Very, very aggressive defense from Maro Engel into turn 7. Ran wide. Both cars ran wide. Then Dries van Thor just couldn't slow it down. That allowed Engel to make the undercut and get back again. So, I mean, where that closing second came from, we didn't quite see. We only saw its conclusion. So can that be repeated again, or was that just an error from Maro Engel that again we didn't see?
Let's see, 12 minutes to go. Now that he's got himself back into the lead, look, he's pushed on and been able to just extend that margin a little bit. 9/10 of a second it was, 7/10 when they come across the stripe this time around. So we've got 12 minutes and change on the clock. 47 minutes of the race are done. And Dries van Thorn not close enough at turn 2 to think about a go. But if Engel was a bit scrappy here a lap ago and repeats it, that will give the advantage to the BMW. Let's see both of them, big grunty cars that should be ideally suited to this part of the racetrack.
Because it got all a bit messy in turns 7 and 8, I suspect they may have picked up a lot of off-track rubbish in their tyre. So that, Tom Fleming has made it, he's gotten through.
Change for silver lead, but Callum Williams' car, Sam de Haan at the wheel of it, fights back. Fleming in the Ferrari, de Haan in the BMW, goes to the outside line. That for the Spitzkehrer, he's got the inside there at the Parabolica, but that puts him on the wrong line into the hairpin. What he needs, if he can't go around the outside, is to duck up the inside coming off the corner, Sam de Haan, and that's exactly what he tries to do. Here we go. Rubs the Ferrari. Fleming does an Engel, if you like, and moves across on the WRT BMW. Tom Fleming keeps the Silver Cup lead, or does he? De Haan has a look on the outside, but he couldn't level.
No, and the defence was, let's say, strong defence from Tom Fleming. Runs a little bit wide in turn 8, but manages to consolidate. Keeps the BMW behind him. Again, an overtake that just seemingly came out of nowhere. And now we've got that Ferrari, what was at one point the lead Ferrari, leading the silver category, but more importantly overall into 4th position.
So Tom Fleming then regrouping after that slow stop, getting himself back ahead then of number 30 BMW. Sam de Haan at the wheel of it. Last year's International GT Open champion. As they come into the stadium, the race leaders have just gone across the line. 7/10 of a second it was last lap between the top two. 8/10 this time as Engel just sort of regroups. 10 minutes to go then. The final 6th of the race about to be started. And look, Fleming, having got himself ahead of de Haan, is now scarpering, isn't he? That Ferrari getting away.
Yes, that's no real surprise because we saw the pace of the 71 Ferrari from the minute the lights went out. Let's watch again and see. That was round the outside of turn 2 and managed to make it stick through 3. But then this is where Sam de Haan got himself back into position. There is the BMW, and it's dropped from 4th to 5th place. Critically for that BMW team, they've lost the lead in the silver category.
And Tom Fleming then, what a great way to return to racing. And he doesn't need a doctor's note for any pain after this for the win, does he? The adrenaline will get rid of that. So up towards the Spitzkehrer he comes, and that Ferrari looking so good all day long. The pit work may have struggled a bit, but they're looking good come the race. As you see there, Darren Lung well clear in bronze from Rob Collard. And then Jonathan Hui, 3rd bronze. But Darren Lung is battling with Lucas Legeret at the moment. That's the number 111 Audi behind. Darren Lung took over from Dan Harper and is in 13th place, Darren Lung, as he comes now up towards the Spitzkehrer. And the main aim for that BMW, of course, is a class win. And as I say, well clear of Rob Collard because the BMW is 13th and Collard's Lamborghini 19th.
Yeah, big boots to fill after Dan Harper handed the car over. But all you've got to do is focus on your class. Overall win, it's going to be a battle between the Mercedes and the BMW as they come up to the conclusion of lap 30. We saw that one attempt and one battle between these two race leaders. But Maro Engel's regrouped and found himself with a comfortable, well, 8/10 of a second. Can that ever be comfortable? Advantage over Dries van Thor. I suspect what Dries van Thor is just, he's driven the wheels off his BMW and maybe the top of the performance from the Pirelli tyre as well.
And that lead gap has gone up now to 1.2 seconds. At the end of lap 30 then, the lead gap getting greater all the time. So it's gone up in favour of Engel. Konsalapalainen is still third and lapping a little bit quicker than Vanthor, who did lose 4 tenths last time. Then Tom Fleming is fourth, Sam de Haan fifth, and Paul Everard sixth. Let's just go on board 32 BMW Dries Vanthor's car and listen in.
Okay, Dries, Engel is on a final warning for track limits. Engel.
So Mauro Engel, final warning for track limits. He's had 5 of them. The next one will be the final warning, and so what he's being told effectively by the engineer is if you push, if you force Engel to run wide, a penalty might give us the win.
All is fair in love and war. You use every tool in the box, whether it's forcing another driver to make an error or whatever, and that's why teams like WRT and now Windward Racing, why they win races, they cover every eventuality.
So Engel will be also being told you're on 5 track limit warnings. In fairness, Vanthor's on 4, or that car is on 4, so he can't afford to step out of line too much either.
But Mauro Engel's such a nice guy. I can never imagine him abusing track limits. It's sort of not in his nature.
Just a little bit wider than the BMW there, the wheel on the line rather than on the track, and they're behind, way wide over the white line. Konsalapalainen in that 3rd place, but he comes through now. Tom Fleming 4th. So yes, that car has lost chunks of time given what Alicia O'Donoghue did early on, but it's got back into the lead of its class, and that fundamentally is the main aim. Now this is your gold battle. Paul Everard still ahead of Luca Engschler, but try as he might, Luca Engschler just can't find a way through. Can't really get a bit like Vanthor we talked about earlier. Can't find those last few tenths.
No, it's always difficult when you've got a group of cars. You've got somebody on your tail who you're keeping an eye on. The car you're chasing down directly ahead of you. You're the meat in that sort of 3-car sandwich. And you've got the outrider and Patrick Niederhauser, the Porsche, just hovering around like a vulture, waiting for some prey to arise, and he can take advantage of it.
Patrick Niederhauser at the back of that group, running in 9th place. Not quite staying on the back of Altuve's Ferrari, is he, on this lap? As now Engschler thinks about a dive to the inside. And does Everard go a bit deep into the Spitzkehrer? Let's see as they come out the other side. Yes, he has! And that is exactly what Engschler was trying to tee him up for. Force a mistake. Here comes Luca Engschler up the inside line. The Lamborghini goes through into the lead of the Gold Cup. Good racecraft.
Yes, I mean, what caused the error? We only saw the end of it, but certainly down into turn 6. And look at this, directly behind Altway now, onto the tail of the Audi.
So Luca Engschler into the lead of the Gold Cup. And that was at the Spitzkehrer. Good pass. And now 69, Giacomo Altway, there in the Red Bull liveried Ferrari, has a 5-second penalty for track limits. Just in the background, you could hear Alain Adon, the race director, announcing the news to us, to the teams as well. So wherever he is on the racetrack, 8th, wherever he finishes, Altway will get this 5-second penalty that will drop him down the order. So the Porsche of Patrick Niederhauser behind is guaranteed at least 1 more place before the end.
Yes, and the Porsche team, Rotronic Racing, may tell Patrick Niederhauser, you don't need to push. We've given you, or you will be given an additional position because you will now become 8th. The penalty to Giacomo Altway means that there's no need to risk anything in the pursuit of the Ferrari.
So that penalty comes because that was a 6th offence for number 69. Going back to that point of WRT, Engel is on 5, so 1 more and he would get a penalty. It's not a final warning as such, but a penalty is the next one. So Mauro Engel still leads the way, and he does so by 1.2 seconds over Vanthor now. And of course, the bigger the gap, the less he needs to really force that car. We have got 4 3/4 minutes of the race to go.
Down the hill, or down the straight into turn 6. So Altway hasn't given up, he's aware, but there's not much he's going to be able to do. He's caught in that traffic. The person he needs to keep an eye on, in fact, well, Patrick Niederhauser will automatically finish ahead of him. It's who's behind Altway right now, behind the Porsche right now, and that would be Tom Gamble. And Tom Gamble potentially could be the beneficiary of the penalty to Altway. He's just around about 4 and a bit seconds behind the Ferrari. So something to be gained by Garage 59 to get that message through.
Yes, indeed. So that's another car that needs to push on as the race goes on. Interesting, isn't it? Engschler, having got himself up and past the Audi, getting away quite easily.
Yes, I mean, I think once you get this thing of getting clear air, everything just has changed. Your car feels better. You've got nobody affecting your aeroflow around the car. Your tires are not being hammered in the way you do when you're following another car. The compromises you have to make. everything is so much more easy than when you're in traffic, and you can see just how much Ensler has pulled out over Paul Everard in the space of little over a lap.
So right now we're on lap number 34. We've got 3.5 minutes still on the clock, and Luca Engschler then getting away. So it'll be a good debut win for that team with a Lamborghini in this championship. For the Liqui team, Engschler by one group team. And oddly, Niederhauser has now fallen back. Now, you're right, he doesn't need to push, but what he does need to do is stay within the 5 seconds of the Ferrari. He can't afford to just back off.
No, and that gap has increased, it's almost doubled, in fact, to what it was in the previous lap. There is the battle for the race lead, and I think Maro Engel realises that he's seen the best of Dries Van Voor and the WRT BMW, and the challenge from the BMW has plateaued, and unless there's an error or driving, a track limit abuse coming the way of the lead 48 Mercedes AMG GT3, it's Engel's race to lose.
It is, although the gap's hovering. It was down by 0.2 in the first sector. It's down by about 4 in the middle. So Van Voor's having another go here. He's not given up yet. They're going to get 2 more laps out of the race, I reckon, looking at the clock. Up to the line comes Engel. He goes by. There is Van Voor behind. 1.3 seconds it was. 1 second it is now. So certainly a gain from Van Voor. And he's got this lap and 1 more in which to force either a mistake or a track limit error or make the pass.
I don't know what Maro Engel did, but coming into turn 1, he made a move one way and the other. It wasn't a blocking move, it's just as if it was something he felt maybe wasn't quite right, because certainly Dries Van Voor has run down Maro Engel. There's smoke. There's something. He's got a puncture, I think. There's something that was coming off the back of the Mercedes, and Dries Van Voor's also sensed it. He might even smell it.
He's going to make the move for the lead, and you're right, Engel has got a problem. He'll defend as much as he can, but there's something not right with the leading Mercedes. Maro Engel turns through the Spitzkehrer, the car hops over the curb, so does Van Voor's car. They get back onto the power. The smoke seems to have gone for now, and Engel responding as he came off the corner. Curiouser and curiouser, because there in a straight line all looks good. That's the WRT camp where they're thinking, could we be on for a race win here? Looking at the Mercedes, looks all right again.
It does. I mean, I thought because sort of something, the way he weaved on the pit straight, he was checking there was something he felt was not right. Now, there may be a mechanical issue which we can't see or can't anticipate, but clearly that gap just evaporated in the space of 4 corners.
But that will give optimism to Van Voor. It will give renewed hope to Van Voor there.
25, 5-second time penalty for track limits.
And that's Paul Everard being given a 5-second penalty, second in gold. So the drama comes late race, but onto the last lap will come Maro Engel. Let's see when he comes down to turn 1, John, if he does his big weave again. I don't think it's to defend from Van Voor. As you say, he must have felt there was something not right in the car.
Well, everything looks fine as he comes down for the last lap. So whatever Maro Engel felt, it was real. We saw it momentarily on camera, and that gave Dries Van Voor the opportunity, the momentum to close down the gap.
So half a lap to go then. This is it, because the flag will be out at the end of it. So this is the part of the circuit where Engel might be vulnerable. Depends what sort of a run out of turn 3 Van Voor gets. Last lap, Engel leads the way. It was 9/10 coming over the line. And this is where Van Voor has historically been a little bit closer. Let's see how good he is on the brakes up to the Spitzkehrer. He's on the lights. There's traffic up the road as well, just to get in the way of Maro Engel. He comes into the corner. He still leads, but he's got to get a good exit off the hairpin, which he does. And Van Voor not really able to squirt up the inside of the Mercedes. Has better drive off the corner.
I mean, whatever that problem with the Mercedes, Maro Engel, I'd love to get that interview, because it suddenly caused this race to build up to the final lap, a challenge from Dries Van Voor. But Maro Engel has got it back in control. That's the key. Whatever the issue was, he's overcome it. He's managed to adjust it, and he's got a comfortable lead of, what does it say? Well, 9/10 of a second, less than a second.
Yeah, hovering around that mark, isn't it? But he's still got to bring it home, because he's wide there, coming out of turn 12 into the stadium. This is the Sachs Curva, and heading up towards the last couple of corners then will be Maro Engel up towards the Sud Curva. And so the Brands Hatch winning combination of Lucas Auer and Maro Engel look as though they're going to score race honours in race 1 of the weekend here at Hockenheim. Checkered flag at the ready. Maro Engel brings it home to win for the Winward Racing Manfilter Mercedes team, with Lucas Auer as the co-driver. Delight for the team. The American Winward Racing squad celebrate the win. Dries van Thor second from 19th on the grid. Consolappalainen comes home third with Ben Green, and Tom Fleming wins silver with Alessio Dono, and that's another of the feel-good stories of the race.
Absolutely delighted indeed for that 71 Ferrari. The race leaders in the first part of the race, a poor pit stop, I don't know why, but Tom Fleming did what he was asked to do. He got that car up ahead and put himself into the winning silver category. What a return.
And in gold, it is Luca Engel and Max Hofer that take the win. And then this is bronze, where Darren Lung is going to come through and score the victory. And the way that BMWs have gone in that BOP may well be looked at again overnight. You never know. Doing some very crude maths, I reckon, would put Maro Engel and Lucas Auer into the lead of the championship overnight by half a point from Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor. But there's a lot to discuss post-race, isn't there, with certainly Maro Engel, certainly Dries van Thor as well.
Well, I think what's going to be most interesting is tomorrow morning's qualifying, because you pointed out, David, we've seen a revival of the BMW performance across the entire field. So Maro Engel just runs out wide. Maybe he's just doing that to make a point, get another track limit abuse, but the checkered flag has fallen. Ha 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 ha.
That's your best sinister laugh, is it? Maro Engel, it is then. It's either Sinister or Sid James, I'm not sure which. 48 then it is Maro Engel that takes the win by, in the end, just over a second. But whichever way you cut it, whether the Mercedes had a late race problem, whether it had a BOP adjustment, which we know about, it does not matter. For a car to start 19th and come up to second is a mighty drive.
A stunning drive. Charles Weerts did a great job in his stint. Dries van Thor was almost sort of handed the plate and said, all you have to do is now take the victory. Typical Dries van Thor, did everything in the book and probably wrote a few more lines that have yet to be read, but just didn't quite get it. But there was an issue of, what, 3 laps out when they went on. Something did happen with the 48 Mercedes. That caused the gap to close. That's what led to that battle almost on the penultimate lap. But Maro Engel now running wide around every single corner.
Let's look at the provisional results then. Lucas Auer and Maro Engel, the race winners by 1 second from Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor. Ben Green and Consolappalainen come home in third. Alessio Dono and Tom Fleming, rivals last year, teammates this and Silver Cup winners ahead of Callum Williams and Sander Hahn. Max Hofer and Luca Engel, 6th, winning gold ahead of Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser, benefiting from a 5-second penalty for Thierry Vermeulen and Giacomo Altway. 9th, Benjamin Goethe and Tom Gamble. Penalised 10th, Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard, 2nd in gold ahead of Lorenzo Petresi and Lorenzo Ferrari. The winning bronze, Dan Harper and Darren Lung, 15th. 2nd in bronze, Sandy Mitchell and Rob Collard. 3rd bronze, Eddie Cheever and Jonathan Hui. So a very dramatic race, and the winning cars will make their way to the Parc Fermé area. That, we reckon, an 8th Sprint Cup win for Maro Engel, the 2nd for Lucas Auer, who is new into Sprint Cup this year. But a really impressive job being done right now by that Winward Racing team Manfilter. And Maro Engel in super slow motion there, celebrating. That's getting another layer off the Pirelli rubber, and you can see how much that win means. It was clearly not an easy race.
No, and again, what was that issue? We saw it, we couldn't explain it. Maro Engel, Lucas Auer, thoroughly delighted. A very, very, I would call it a totally professional race from both drivers.
Yeah, Lucas Auer, who is kind of finally shed the nephew of Gerhard Berger tag to being a driver in his own right, if you see what I mean, and delivering all the time. Dries van Thor there having a word with Maro Engel, and that's Tom Fleming taking the earpieces out. Silver Cup winner, and back racing after that nasty shunt at Misano, showing, it seems, no after effects. Well done, Tom Fleming.
Outstanding effort, and I think he should be thoroughly pleased with himself. He's got to do it again tomorrow, but he'll go to bed tonight knowing I've come delivered for that silver category. That's what I was employed to do, and I can have good sleep tonight. Well, before he goes to sleep, eat well, get an early night, rehydrate. Very important for all these drivers to rehydrate.
Well, Mauro Engel, Lucas Auer are race winners, and there's quite a lot for Mauro to tell us, I think, about that second stint with that elasticated gap and a problem we thought at the end. Let's see what answers we can elicit from Mauro Engel. Antonio Rankin is down there, and there's a small delay before we can hear from Mauro Engel because the family come first. Mauro puts on his watch, most important, and he's not late for the podium. Frau Engel passes his daughter across, and we can at least hear from Lucas Auer, I guess, first.
Boys, Mauro, this is an incredible, incredible win for you. Are there any words?
Home win, nearly a home win for Lugi.
Almost.
As an Austrian, yeah, big thank you to the whole Windward team. They gave us a fantastic car from first free practice here to all the way to now. But boy, it was difficult.
Did the heat contribute a lot to how hard it was, or was it just so many battles going on?
There was a lot of going on, but as Mauro said, Windward gave us a perfect car. Mauro did an excellent job. It was really tough. Competition was suddenly very fast, and but still very happy.
Now, I have to ask, Mauro, just before the end, you seemed to have an issue. What was going on there?
We were on the limit with track limits, so it's really difficult. And one of the cars ahead, a little bit out of the picture, he kept going wide out of the last corner and putting sand on the track, and so it was really difficult through turn one because you just didn't have clean tires. And obviously, I knew if Dries was any bit closer with the top speed advantage they have, that I had no chance. So yeah, happy that we were able to hang on.
Well, irrespectively, you really did hang on, and you won. Congratulations. Go celebrate.
So I think that's the answer to why he was weaving at turn one, not whatever we thought the problem on that back part of the circuit. But Mauro Engel it is then that takes that race win with Lucas Auer. And it's very rare these days that drivers get the family involved in Parc Fermé. It clearly meant a lot to Mauro, that win.
Well, it's a family affair. I mean, we see a lot more of this in racing in North America, where the family has got a bigger involvement. But over in Europe, you know, we're so cool that having a family, a racing driver, having his child come and be cuddled and kissed by his winning dad. Oh, don't know about that. It's a bit too soon for Europe to embrace that kind of emotion.
Well, a winning margin of 1 second in pro, Engel to Van Thorp. Luca Engschler's winning margin in gold, quite a large one in the end, given the penalty for Paul Everard, who actually hung on to second place. Now, let's hear from those silver winners. Alessio Dono nearest to us. Tom Fleming is there as well.
Alessio, Tom, that was absolutely incredible. Real stars of the future, you guys. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm really, really happy for this result. It's a big result for us, also for the championship. I'm really happy because Dom is back in the car. I infinite thanks to my team for this incredible car. Thanks all my family and my girlfriend for the support. I thanks all the people follow me from.
Now, Tom, as far as comebacks go, you are back and loud about it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't fancy coming in quiet about it. We don't go into races expecting not to win. So honestly, it's an amazing feeling to be back. The team, well, the entire team suffered quite a large setback at Misano, but you know, they've constantly believed in me and Alessio. Of course, and Ferrari have given us the best car we can possibly imagine for. Felt absolutely amazing the entire race, and yeah, I just got to say a massive thank you for Grid Shark athletic performance, of course, Amato Ferrari, and my family for supporting me. It's a really quick turnaround to get back in the car, but we've managed it, so I think I deserve a lie down.
A very big one. Just before you do go and lie down, was there something that happened in the pit stop?
I can probably, I won't show you the inside of the car, but basically, for me to be able to drive, I have to have a seat insert, and because me and Dono are quite different builds, it doesn't really match both of us, so we just had to chuck it in midway through the pit stop, which cost us a bit of time. But I'd rather lose 4 seconds because of that and have, you know, instead of losing 4/10 a lap due to the uncomfortable pain. So, yeah.
Well, you guys go celebrate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There is the silver winning car, number 71 Ferrari then, Tom Fleming and Alessio Dono. And although it wasn't translated into an overall win after losing about 9 seconds in fairness in the pits to certainly number 32 BMW, it was a class win, although they had to work for that as well because Tom Fleming had to battle his way back through, and I think he'll know this weekend when he gets home on Sunday night, Monday morning, he's been in a racing car over the weekend, but right now the adrenaline will get him through. So been a very good drive indeed by Tom Fleming and Eliseo Dono. Let's look at the highlights then. There were many of race 1, which began with a very quick starting Porsche up the inside of Dennis Marshall off the grid, but he got roughed up in the course of that first lap. So as the cars turned their way out of turn 1, it ended up with an early battle between Ben Green and Lucas Auer, with Dan Harper right there as well. Ben Green getting squeezed out wide at turn 8, and that allowed the Mercedes to go through. Dan Harper getting up and past as well. Eliseo Dono by this stage was long gone up the road, but eventually Ben Green had to give way. He got roughed up a little bit coming into the stadium and fell to 4th as the pit stop window opened, but it was a slow stop for 71 Ferrari, and it rejoined down in 4th place and lost its class lead as well. For the race lead though, side by side, Maro Engel and Dries van Voor, big battle between the two of them. The BMW briefly ahead from 19th on the grid, but then it ran wide and handed the lead back to Maro Engel. And once it had regained the lead, the Mercedes was not for losing it, as Tom Fleming worked his way up past Sam de Haan for the Silver Cup lead. There was one last chance for Vantor to have a go coming through the Spitzkehrer hairpin, but Maro Engel had everything covered, and as the BMW wagged its tail, Engel got the drive off the hairpin and was able to come through and score the race win. 1 second to the good as the checkered flag flew at the end of race 1 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup here at Hockenheim. A win for Lucas Auer and a delighted Maro Engel. Happy families all round. A podium awaits then for the winning drivers. Podiums, plural, because there's a podium for bronze, podium for gold, for silver, and overall as well. So for overall, first up, the drivers make their way to the podium, where third, Ben Green and Konsta Lapalainen step forward. There for second from 19th on the grid, Charles Weerts and Dries van Voor. But a second Sprint Cup win of his career, Lucas Auer, and 8th for Maro Engel, and they will be the winning drivers for the Winwood Racing Team Man Filter. That is represented on the podium, and there are the drivers. Lucas Auer, Maro Engel take honours here at Hockenheim. Great delight for Maro Engel and his daughter as well. With Lucas Auer, they jump to the top step of the podium. So the American national anthem for the American team, Winwood Racing, Russell Ward's team, and there the flags of the teams withdrawn. The drivers then will have the trophies presented, and the Hockenheim organisation team looking after the trophies. Maro Engel's daughter loving her time on the podium, asking all these questions. High fives, Dries van Voor and Charles Weerts. She's becoming the star of this, as Belma Nadorovich from Fanatec now hands over the trophies to Charles and to Dries, and will do so to the team as well.
And the first driver.
And then the winning drivers. I wonder whether Maro's daughter gets anything out of all of this. The trophy's probably as big as she is, but she can hold Dad's trophy. Fantastic. Lucas Auer as well, and well done. Maro Engel and Lucas Auer, race 1 winners here at Hockenheim. Now the champagne awaits. Let's see how rapidly Miss Engel runs off the podium. Yep, all good. Lucas Auer attacks anybody he can find with the champagne, and doting Dad is the one that gets soaked. So Konsta Lapalainen, Ben Green taking their third place, Charles Weerts, Dries van Voor for second, Lucas Auer and Maro Engel race win. Great race, John.
Yes, they got Dries van Voor, Maro Engel out of the car. Dries did a big understeer move, which I think is where, when he got that advantage into turn 8, he just washed out, ran wide. That allowed Mauro to get back again, and that's where the race was lost by WRT and where it was consolidated by Winwood Racing.
Well, dramatic stuff, and there's more to come tomorrow. They qualify again at 9:45. We're on air for that. And then the second race of the weekend, which will be another dramatic one for sure, is going to be on air at 1:30 tomorrow with all the build-up. As far as the championship is concerned, it is half a point between Lucas Aar, Mauro Engel from Charles Witz, Dries van Voor, Ben Green and Conte Lapalainen next from Giacomo Altouet and Thierry Vermeulen. Dramatic stuff then here at Hockenheim. We look forward to more of the same here tomorrow.